Hi, my name's Ben Brown. I'm a technology manager for a shared IT service in Worcestershire. This is Adam Zabrinski. If you can spell his name at the end, you can win him. I'll find the next thing. So we're a shared ITC service. We look after IT for 3 different councils in the Midlands. We became a shared service in 2010, and that's when we started using Liferay as well. We started internally, and now we're using it for pretty much everything. We're using it for our shared services, extranet and intranet. We've got about 120 councillors. We provide an extranet for them. We've got 800 staff, 450 odd, of which update and look at Liferay constantly. And we look after 4 shared services, so we look after building control, revenues and benefits, environmental health, and another one. And we're also working with a private partner, Civica, so we look after other councils' applications. I'll start with a quote from when we started. Our old IT director was quite against open source. So this is what we were up against. He thought it was software written by people hide up in their bedrooms. And we showed him Liferay, which is one of the first things we used to replace Sharepoint. And it started to change his mind. And since then, in our procurement policy and our development policy, we prefer open source first. We've met other opposition against open source from some vendors as well. There's a lot of myths going around. We've been told that it's easier to hack, it's not secure. We've beaten that. Since we became a shared service, we've consolidated a lot of our systems into Liferay. That consolidation has even occurred in back-end systems and been helped by using Liferay. So we've provided front ends for staff to help consolidate data. And then a big area we've been looking at is self-service development. Catch up with my notes.
Yeah, so with our self-service development, we started moving towards agile development, and we sort of tried to focus on fast and functional delivery of small bits of applications to slowly build up to what the business needed, so we can react quicker to needs and changes, trends in services. And as has been touched on by other speakers, there has been a need to consolidate systems, generate efficiencies, savings. So we wanted to reduce customer contact and work in a more joined up manner with other services and service areas, so we can provide a more complete information picture, so we can react to what the customers actually want.
One of the big things we're able to do is get into our policy a drive to end-to-end self-service. And we had a lot of principles behind this to consolidate the data, to reduce officer involvement as much as we could, to only let users sign on when they needed to, so they should be able to do things just one-off. And this is one of the main parts of the policy now that we're working on. We're quite a small development team, but we've gone down the route of Bristol as well. We started with parking, we moved on to waste and recycling, comments and complaints, garden waste orders, those sort of things. And we're an agile team.
Yeah, so our focus is on building modular products that can easily be connected together later on in development. And as we are a small team, it keeps us focused on the details, so then we can build that up to a fuller picture.
Yeah, and one of the things we've developed as well is our own middleware. So we've got single data stores for our addresses, single data store for our interactions and our customers. We've got our own databases that interact with, which take data from back office systems on nightly jobs or hourly jobs, so that the back office systems aren't heavily hammered. And we've got an extra layer in between. What we've moved from, internally we've moved from Sharepoint. We used Ulterion on 2 of the websites as CMS. Typo 3 was one of the big CMSs we were using. We've moved a couple of WordPress sites. The worst 2, static intranet site, 2 of the districts, and then a horrible classic ASP site that was running on, I think it was running on an Access database, so when you updated it, it locked it and broke the website. Malvern Hills is one of the districts we look after. We started with SharePoint in 2007. It quickly grew until we had nearly 100 sites. Everyone was using it. Senior management were using it as blogs, document centers to organize their meetings. We started to develop applications using the different web parts that were available and custom ones we'd programmed, and we got a lot of info path forms. So we've got forms with workflow behind them. Some of them are quite simple, like claiming mileage and things like that, and some were quite complex, like personal development review forms for HR. There was another site at Worcester City Council that had 24 different sites, and then in each of those sites there were hundreds of document libraries, and it was a big mash of information.
So where were we? We had 3 main content management systems and many other subdomains, so we wanted to take this opportunity, changing from SharePoint to an open source platform, to consolidate and use Liferay as the one platform where everything was going to be on. So with all these different systems, we had an inconsistent user experience. The applications websites were designed different times, and as you know, technology moves on really fast. So the web technology was out of date, design was out of date, and it was very static. The websites were pretty much unusable on anything except a desktop. So we tried, that was one of the key focuses when we were developing our new websites.
So why did we choose Liferay? We started using it 2010 with Community Edition. We're Java programmers. We use all the toolkits that basically Liferay did. We were looking at something to replace SharePoint initially, and it met all the needs everything we needed in a portal. Some of it was very modular, so things we didn't want in it we could take out, and other things we could, like we used a different workflow system, and we used a slightly different way of searching.
Yeah, and this was within our skill set, so being based as Java developers, it was fairly easy to pick up. We were reusing our skills, and also organisationally, it cut down our overheads for support and management, because we've got one system rather than lots of different systems to maintain and look at, and have the skills as well to look at those separate systems. So we only needed one skill set to use with Liferay.
One of the big things that we have to do is use supported open source. That's part of our policy as well, and that's where buying Liferay through a partner was really good. It was very easy to integrate initially with Active Directory, so you get people set up and logged on. And it met portal requirements for things like lists, document libraries, document management, all that sort of stuff.
So how did we actually move from a SharePoint-based system to Liferay? Well, we started first by asking questions, and lots of them. So what do we need from the system? What does it need to do? What gets used currently? What doesn't get used? we then looked around at the web for inspiration. What's everyone else doing? What's working well? What are customers finding that works well with other districts, other services? What doesn't work so well that's been tried and tested? A great example would be, a popular thing on websites is carousels, big, in your face, but that actually ends up hiding the content. There were some studies, and they showed that the heat map of where the user actually hovers over the page, they tend to ignore those sort of marketing-esque carousels, and they just want to skip to the content elsewhere. So that's a great example. And we found things we liked, we put them on the table, and we considered them, will this fit in with our local districts, the services we offer, the features that are needed from the services. And then we came up with a specification. What must it do? What should it do? What could it do? A normal sort of software development process. And then we ended up choosing frameworks based on these needs, front end and to drive the data using our middleware and Liferay. And then we moved on to low-tech methods, wireframing, quick drawings, sketches, because we were time constrained. We didn't have that much time to develop these new systems and put it all together. And then we moved to semi-interactive prototypes in HTML, and then finally we started developing for Liferay. So over this time as well, we had lots of content on the different systems which needed evaluation. Do people look at it? Is it up to date? And we found that actually we could get rid of a lot of stuff. We went from over 1,000 odd pages on one of the sites to just below 500 in total after going through this process. So it's very apt time to do that. If you're looking to move the platform, to evaluate everything that you can, and does it fit in with where you want to be and where you want your service and organisations pointed. And we used surveys to do this, and we incorporated the user feedback at every stage we could. We consulted, much as everyone else has mentioned, surveys and things like that. But we also found, based on the demographic of the area, that you would get different results. So, for example, in Malvern Hills, one of our districts, the population is sort of older than the other districts, so they were more likely to dislike any change to the websites or services and the way that they're used to working and interacting with the council. So that's things to bear in mind. It's very subjective. So then after we'd gone through all this process, we backed up our old site, deployed it, our new one, and we're moving forward, testing, iterating, and improving all the time.
So this is what Liferay lets us do. This is internally and externally. Before we had Liferay, it was quite hard to adapt and change and create new sites. We didn't have any community help. We had so many old systems. There were no communities around them. It was hosted internally. And we had poor discrete search, a search on each site. We couldn't cross sites. And it took us a long time to develop.
Yeah, so we took this time to sort of change our approach as well to interactions with our customers. So we used to be, this is all the information, this is all you could possibly want to know about a subject, here you go. But now instead we're like, what do people want to do with the council? What's their interaction? What do they need to achieve? And we took a task-based approach. So we highlighted what we would describe as top tasks. So paying council tax, check in your bin collection date, for example, and put those at the forefront. These are things that people want to do. That we knew this from the statistics we'd collected from like Google Analytics, and And we also moved to a sort of search-based model where the search was very prominent. We also went mobile first with our design and responsive, so that's a very common thing. But the focus is on providing an experience that you can use whatever the device, so you don't need native apps and things like that. And also we moved our hosting from internal to externally in the cloud. So we were hosting all our sites and applications in that now for added robustness and ease of maintainability, and we can scale it. We can say if there's a new service or something launching and we're anticipating high demand, we can just say allocate more resources to the site or service, and then that can get used effectively, and then we can scale it down. So we're efficient in our costs rather than paying fixed fees for hosting somewhere else.
This is another thing it lets do. One of the first applications we ran was to let people see pictures of their car when they've been naughty, parked it in a bad place and got a ticket. And we had hundreds and hundreds of people appealing, and it was a lot of work for the back office. So we developed a system where you could put in your ticket number and your car registration. You'd see the pictures of your car, all the details of the ticket. You could then appeal if you still thought it was a fair appeal, or you were directed to a pay online link. And that cut appeals to our back office by sort of 85–90%. Things we've learned from moving across to Liferay. I think the first one was involving key people at key times. We've got a very good product owner, and she was able to meet with the different service areas, meet with the senior management, and we got decisions made very quickly.
Yeah, and we also learned how to handle multiple customers' requirements. So we did this by asking them and making sure that they focused on what they wanted to achieve and not necessarily how they used to do it before. Because it's a very easy trap to fall into. Let's just recreate what we had before in a slightly more presentable way, for example. Whereas actually, a lot of the things that were used that they had before were not used. So we were trying to cut away all the unnecessary things and trying to focus them on what they actually needed to provide the best service possible. And we also learned that no platform is perfect. So you have to choose the platform that best fits it in with a big picture. And with Liferay, we're able to build on it, expand it, and really make it ours through the development. But of course, there comes a cost in that you have to invest some time and effort to fully get the best out of the platform.
The other thing we learned, it was quite a painful lesson, was to get our data in order first. A lot of the service areas kept their own records, their own data, especially things like refuse round and things like that. They kept their own data in silos, usually Excel, and they had many different copies of it, and none of them were quite right. Liferay let us build a quick, easy front end to collect all the data into one place and then let them update it themselves in the service area. And it got the acronym of BATEWE, which is best application in the world ever, by the people using it, so that wasn't too bad.
So yeah, I'm just reiterating what I said previously, really, that we shouldn't replicate things that are already there, that already exist. It's very easy to do with pressures, time delivery. You've got a very short amount of time to deliver the product that everyone wants something now, and services always say, well, this is more our service, we need to publicise this, we need to do this, we need to be at the forefront. But really, you need to prioritise and effectively manage users and what they need. because what's best for the customer might not actually be what's best for the service. So this also ties into the topic of digital business transformation, where you'll need to modify your business processes to keep up with what the customer actually needs, how quickly they need their services delivered, the information they require, etc.
Some of the things we got stuck on, we did have some deployment issues in the cloud, initially setting up Liferay, but we had some great help from Liferay and Pafikis. We used PFI to buy our Liferay through, and their support's been excellent. We had problems where our applications were looking like they were deployed but not showing, and it got sorted out pretty quickly.
And then another issue we had was with velocity in particular. I mean, this it's quite a broad topic. This is just a small example of something we got stuck on. But it was it's a technology used in the page creation process within Liferay, and the development team had never encountered that before. So as an example, it was an issue that we had to overcome and acquire the knowledge and invest the time to use the technology that was available to us. And finally, frameworks, choosing them. It's a big topic. There are lots of frameworks, front end, back end. Some of them have been mentioned today, like Spring, Bootstrap, Alloy UI that's built into Liferay. There are lots of them, and choosing the right one for the job really is a large task. And once you've chosen one, it's pretty hard once you've developed products to go back and change the framework that you're using. For example, if you find a framework isn't as flexible as you wanted it to be, or it's hard to do something, then that is an issue of time and delivery. So it's best to get the framework choice right to start off with. So it's worth investing the time and effort to really evaluate what's there, what's available, and is this the best fit for our organisation?
And we're still sort of refining our toolkit at the moment. We still change and update what we're using when we're developing new products. And that's it from us. If you want to see any of our intranet, extranet or websites, we're over in the corner. If you need to know anything more, you can email us on those addresses or find us on Twitter.
Thank you, Ben and Adam. Thank you very much. We do have time for questions, so if there's any questions right now from the audience, we're happy to take one or two. Please do raise your hand.
Easy ones.
Easy ones, yes, Ben says easy. If you ask a hard question, he's going to beat you up afterwards.
I'll beat you up.
Okay, beat me up. Okay, anybody has a question? Anybody?
That's cool.
Okay. No ship. Oh, over here. Okay.
I was just curious to understand which cloud platform you guys used.
Which
cloud platform, yeah?
Cloud platform, we used Elastic.
Elastic Bean.
No, Gelastic.
Gelastic.
Hosted by a company called Layershift up in Manchester. We have to keep it with the rules for PSM. We have to keep our data within the UK, and they're hosted up in Manchester. So.
Okay, that's cool.
Any other questions? Over there, Gavin.
Hi, it's not so much a question actually as a comment, which is just that obviously we're all sharing the same kind of challenges. Obviously one of the things that's great about today is we can have a chat later on, and as I've been doing with a number of other people today. I think there's a group of people across the country trying to find ways to share, local gov digital developments, and I think we all just need to dive in together and share more of these things. And so hopefully we can have a chat later on about some things you've cracked already that we haven't, and vice versa. So.
Okay. Good. All right, thank you very much, Adam and Ben. Can we give them a round of applause?